It is 2:04 p.m. on a Tuesday. You are sitting in the parking lot of a Target in Charlotte, North Carolina. Engine off. Keys still in the ignition. You have been sitting here for 47 minutes. You know it is 47 minutes because you checked your phone when you pulled in, and you have checked it 4 times since and done the math each time. Like that is a productive use of what is left of your afternoon. You came here for pasta. That is the whole reason you drove here. Your fridge has hot sauce, half a block of cream cheese, and a lemon that has started to look like it is thinking about giving up. You need pasta. The store is right there. The sliding doors are 20 feet away. People are walking in and out, normal people with normal carts and normal Tuesday afternoons, and you cannot make yourself open the car door. Not because you are scared. Not because anything bad is going to happen. You just cannot locate the part of you that decides to do things. You graduated 8 months ago. Business administration. 3.7 GPA. 4 years of early mornings and group projects. And a thesis your advisor called one of the stronger ones she had seen in a while. Your parents drove 6 hours to watch you walk across that stage. Your mom cried. Your dad did not cry, but he gripped your shoulder in the parking lot afterward in a way that said everything he could not say out loud. You have sent out 114 job applications since May. You keep the number in a notes app on your phone because somewhere around application 40, you stopped trusting your memory to hold things accurately. 114. And you are sitting in a parking lot on a Tuesday afternoon unable to buy pasta. You do not know what is wrong with you. And that not knowing, that complete absence of a name or a reason or a diagnosis for what this is, that is the part that scares you the most. But to understand how you got to this parking lot, you have to go back. Back to the morning everything was supposed to begin. May 14th, a Saturday. Your mom Diane is ironing your graduation gown in the kitchen at 7:30 in the morning, even though the ceremony does not start until noon. That is who she is. She has been up since 6. There is a full breakfast on the stove, eggs and toast, and the good orange juice, not the kind from concentrate. Your dad, Robert, is at the kitchen table pretending to read the newspaper, but every 30 seconds or so, you catch him looking up at you over the top of it. Your roommate, Marcus, texts you at 8:15. The message says, "We made it, bro," with 3 fire emojis. You screenshot it. You are not sure why exactly. It just feels like something worth keeping. The ceremony is at the arena downtown. 1,200 graduates. It takes 2 hours and 40 minutes to get through all the names. When yours is called, you walk across the stage and shake the dean's hand and someone in the audience cheers. Your mom probably. And the whole thing lasts about 9 seconds. In the photo your dad takes right after, you are smiling. It is a real smile. But if you look closely, and later you will look closely, there is something behind it that is hard to name. Not sadness, something quieter, like a door that is open just wide enough for a draft to get through. At dinner that night, Robert stands up and gives a toast. He talks about sacrifice and investment, and the word future comes up 3 times. Everyone raises their glasses. You raise yours. You feel the weight of that toast, the way you feel a hand pressed flat against your chest. Gentle but present. A reminder that something is expected of you now. That night, after your parents drive home and Marcus goes out with people from his program and the apartment is quiet, you lie in bed and a single word starts following you around the inside of your head. Now. Now what? You push it away. You tell yourself you are just tired. It has been a long 4 years, and you are allowed one night of not knowing what comes next. You fall asleep eventually, but the word is still there in the morning. June is actually fine. You treat the job search like a class. Up by 8 every morning, coffee made before you sit down, LinkedIn open, a Google spreadsheet with columns for company name, date applied, contact person, and a color-coded status system that feels genuinely useful for about 3 weeks. Green for active, yellow for waiting, red for no. The red column starts small. You get a phone screen in week 2 from a supply chain consulting firm in Raleigh. The recruiter says you have a strong profile and that they will be in touch by end of month. You tell Marcus, and he says, "That is basically an offer, bro." And you laugh and say, "It is absolutely not that." But that night, you look up apartments in Raleigh just to see what is out there. A second phone screen comes in week 3. A logistics coordinator role at a mid-sized company just outside Charlotte. You prep for 2 days. The call goes well. You feel good afterward in a way that is almost physical, like something loosening in your chest. You are still going to the gym 4 times a week. You are cooking real food. You call your parents on Sunday evenings like a person who has their life in reasonable order. The now what feeling is still there, but it is manageable. On good days, it even feels like motivation. Your friend Kayla lands a job at a marketing firm in Atlanta at the end of June. You go to her going away party at a rooftop bar, and you feel genuinely happy for her. There is something underneath the happiness that you do not examine too closely. You tell yourself 1 more month, maybe 2, and then this starts moving. What nobody tells you is that the optimism is the most dangerous part, not because it is wrong to feel it, but because the higher it builds, the further the fall when it finally runs out. The spreadsheet stops getting updated sometime around application 58. You do not make a decision to stop updating it. It just stops happening. One day you apply to 3 positions, and you mean to log them, and then you do not. And the next day it feels like too much effort to go back and fill in the details. The spreadsheet sits open in a browser tab for 2 weeks before you close it. August arrives, and neither of the phone screens from June have gone anywhere. The Raleigh firm sends a short email saying they have decided to pause hiring for the role. The logistics company stops responding entirely, which is somehow worse than a rejection, because at least a rejection is a closed door. No response is a door you keep walking past and wondering about. You start sleeping until 10, then 11, not because you are tired, but because sleep is the only time the math stops. The debt number, the savings number, the number of months left before the savings number hits 0, and you have to call your parents and say the thing you have been trying not to say. The gym becomes 3 times a week, then twice. Then the gym bag just sits by the front door, and every morning you see it and feel a specific quality of guilt that you have started to recognize the way you recognize the sound of your own name. Robert calls on a Wednesday in September, not Sunday, Wednesday. His voice is careful in the way voices get careful when someone is trying to ask something without quite asking it. He says, "How is the search going?" You say, "Good, I have some things in the pipeline." He says, "That is great, keep at it. There is nothing in the pipeline." You start saying fine and good, and getting closer every single time someone asks. The words come out automatically now, smooth and convincing, and afterward you feel something that is not quite shame, but lives close to it. One evening in late September, you realize you have not laughed, actually laughed, in about 3 weeks. Not a polite laugh or a social laugh, but the kind that comes from somewhere real. You file that away as information without knowing what to do with it. There is a specific day coming, a day you will be able to point to later and say, "That is where it changed." You are not there yet, but you are getting close. October 17th, a Thursday. You get a rejection email at 11:22 in the morning from a company you really wanted. Operations analyst role, mid-size firm, good culture reviews on Glassdoor. You had spent 4 hours on the cover letter and had Marcus read it before you sent it. The rejection is not a form rejection. That is the thing. It is a real email, 3 sentences, from an actual human being named Derek in talent acquisition, and it says they went with a candidate who had more direct experience in the field, which means someone read your application, someone considered it, and then a real person sat down and typed the word no. You close the laptop. You sit there, and you wait for a feeling to arrive. The frustration, the sting, the thing that makes you want to call someone, or go for a run, or eat something bad and watch television. You have felt those things before after rejections. You know what they feel like. Nothing comes. Just a gray static where a feeling should be. You realize you have not eaten today. Not because you forgot, because somewhere between waking up and now, the number of steps involved in deciding what to eat felt like too many steps for the amount of something you had left. You open Instagram. A classmate from your marketing elective junior year has posted a photo from a rooftop in New York City. She is holding a drink, and the caption says, "Grateful for this season of growth," and the skyline is behind her, and she has 214 likes, and you close the app before you finish reading it. You lie down on the couch at 2 p.m. You stare at the ceiling. You do not sleep. You do not think about anything specific. You just exist in a way that does not feel like living, like a phone that is on but has no apps open. You stay there for an hour. That is the day. That is the one you will point to later. That is the day you stopped being someone going through a hard time and started being someone who needed help. You just did not know it yet. It would take 6 more weeks before you understood what was actually happening. Here is what nobody sees. When Marcus calls, you sound fine. You have gotten very good at sounding fine. You modulate your voice automatically, the way you do in professional settings, and you ask him about his life, and you laugh at the right moments, and afterward you sit in the quiet of your apartment and feel the specific exhaustion of having performed okayness for 25 minutes straight. Your parents come to Charlotte in November for Thanksgiving. 4 days before they arrive, you clean the apartment from top to bottom. You buy real groceries, a full fridge, things that imply a person who cooks regularly and has an appetite and is doing fine. You even buy a small plant for the windowsill, because for some reason a plant feels like evidence of a stable life. Diane walks in and says, "The place looks great." You say, "Thanks, I have been keeping it up." The lie costs nothing, because you have told versions of it so many times it is worn smooth. You take a seasonal job at Target in November. Backroom only, moving inventory, no customer contact. You chose backroom specifically because the idea of standing at a register making small talk with strangers for 6 hours felt like something your body could not produce. At $15.50 an hour, it covers your phone bill and your groceries and a piece of the gap between your savings and the first student loan payment that hit in November, $412. That was the first payment. You sat with that number for a long time. Your coworker in the back room is a 19-year-old named Jordan, who is taking a gap year before community college and has absolutely no plan beyond that and seems genuinely at peace with it. Jordan is perfectly happy moving boxes and talking about which fast food places are open late, and has not once looked at the ceiling of the break room the way you look at it. You stop telling people you are job searching in your field. The follow-up questions have become their own specific kind of pain. Have you tried LinkedIn? Have you thought about networking events? Have you considered reaching out to professors? Each one lands like a suggestion that you are not trying hard enough, even when the person asking is genuinely trying to help. The debt is $43,000. You know this number the way you know your own birthday. It sits at the back of everything. Not a crisis. Not yet. But a weight that makes every small decision feel connected to a larger consequence. And here's the thing about depression that nobody explains before you are inside it. It does not always look like crying. It does not always look like darkness. Sometimes it looks like a person who is going to work and buying groceries and texting people back and doing all the visible things that make up a functioning life. Sometimes it looks like you. December 9th, A Tuesday night. Marcus texts at 7:30, asking if you want to come to his girlfriend Ashley's birthday thing in Plaza Midwood. Small group. Low-key. You would know a few people. You pick up your phone. You type, "Yeah, definitely." You look at it for a moment. You delete it. You put the phone face down on the coffee table. You sit in the dark of your apartment for 3 hours, not watching anything, not on your phone, not doing anything that would look like a thing if someone walked in. Just sitting in the specific wait of a Tuesday night in December when you are 22 years old, and you have a business degree and $43,000 in debt, and you cannot make yourself go to a birthday party for someone you actually like. And then a thought arrives. It comes quietly, not loud, not urgent, not the way you have seen it portrayed in movies, which is always dramatic and always has a clear shape. It comes the way a headache comes, slow and building. And the thought is, I do not know how much longer I can do this. You sit with that thought. You let it stay longer than you should. You are not going to do anything. You want to be clear about that because it matters to be clear. But you stay inside that thought long enough to feel something shift, some small internal alarm going off in a register you did not know you had. And for the first time in weeks, you feel something real. You feel scared. You pick up your phone at 11:48 p.m. and you call your mom. Not because you have a plan, not because you have figured out what to say. You call her because the silence in the apartment has gotten heavy in a way that your own voice cannot lighten. And her voice is the only thing you can think of that might. She picks up on the second ring, and you say, "Mom, I am not doing okay." Out loud, to another person, for the first time. You have said those words inside your own head hundreds of times over the past 4 months. But saying them out loud does something different. It makes them real. It makes you real again. Like something that had been held underwater, finally breaking the surface. Diane does not panic. She does not say, "Have you tried exercising more, or maybe you need to get outside, or I am sure things will turn around." She says, "Okay, tell me." And you do. All of it. The spreadsheet, the couch at 2 p.m., the parking lots, the gray static, the Jordan from Target envy, the $43,000, the birthday party you could not make yourself go to. 40 minutes. She listens for 40 minutes without once trying to fix it. When you finish, there is a pause and she says, "I am coming this weekend." You say you do not have to do that. She says, "I know." Then she says, "I am coming this weekend." Diane comes on Saturday. She does not arrive with resources printed out or a list of suggestions or the energy of a person on a rescue mission. She arrives with a casserole and a bag of coffee, and she sits at your kitchen table and she lets you talk. And she talks a little too. And on Sunday afternoon before she drives home, she finds a therapist through your dad's insurance. And she makes the first appointment for you because she knows that if she leaves it up to you, there is a reasonable chance you will not make it. The therapist's name is Dr. Angela Webb. She has an office in South Charlotte off Park Road, in the second floor of a small professional building, a waiting room with a white noise machine outside the door. She is in her early 50s, and she does not look the way you expected a therapist to look, which is a thought based on nothing. In the first session, she asks you a lot of questions. Toward the end, she asks, "When was the last time you felt like yourself?" And you open your mouth to answer, and you cannot. You sit there for a moment, trying to locate a specific memory, a specific afternoon or ordinary hour where you recognize yourself clearly, and the absence of one surprises you more than anything else in the session. Dr. Webb uses the phrase adjustment disorder with depressed mood. It sounds clinical. It sounds almost embarrassingly ordinary, like the medical equivalent of a common cold. And somehow that is a relief. You had been afraid of what the name might be. The name turns out to be manageable. She explains something that stays with you for a long time. She says that 4 years of college provided you with something most people do not recognize as essential until it disappears. Structure, deadlines, feedback, measurable progress. The sense that effort produces a visible result within a known time frame. She says graduation does not just end school. It removes the entire scaffolding that organized how you understood yourself and your time and your worth. And for a lot of people, that collapse happens so gradually that they do not see it coming. Graduate depression, she tells you, is one of the most common and least discussed mental health transitions in the country. One of the most common. You think about that for a long time. You start seeing doctor. Web every 2 weeks. It does not make you happy in any immediate dramatic way. It makes the thoughts less tangled, like someone helping you sort a pile of cables into something you can actually see clearly. In January, you tell Marcus the truth. Over the phone, late on a Thursday. You give him the short version, and then the slightly longer one. And when you finish, there is a quiet on his end that lasts a few seconds. And then he says, "Man, I wondered." And something about that lands differently than you expected. The idea that someone who knew you had seen something and had waited patiently for you to be ready to say it yourself. You do not apply to any jobs for 3 weeks in January. For the first time, that feels like a decision, not a failure, a decision. Recovery does not look like a sunrise. It does not look like a montage. It does not have a specific morning where you wake up and the weight is gone and everything that was heavy is now light. If that is what you are waiting for, you will wait a long time. What it actually looks like is this. One afternoon in February, you finish a full meal without running the debt calculation in the background. You notice this only after the fact, the way you notice a headache is gone. You file it away. It is something. You go back to the gym in late February. Not 4 times a week. Once. You go once and you come home and you feel approximately 3% better than you did before you went. And that 3% is enough to go back the following week. In March, you take a part-time coordinator role at a nonprofit in Charlotte, a workforce development organization that helps adults get back into employment. The irony of this is not lost on you. The pay is $19 an hour, 25 hours a week. It is not what the degree was for. It is not the career trajectory Robert toasted at the dinner table in May. But on your first day, you are nervous in a way that feels human again. A real productive nervousness rather than the gray static kind. That distinction matters more than you can fully explain. You tell Robert the truth in April. Not all of it. Enough. You are on the regular Sunday call, and instead of saying fine and good, you say the last 8 months were harder than I let on. And then you say more. And he listens. And when you finish, there is a pause long enough that you wonder if the call dropped. Then he says, "I wish you had told us sooner." Not in an angry way. In the way a person says something when they are more sad than anything else. You sit with that for a while. The debt is still $43,000. It does not disappear because you went to therapy. It does not get smaller because things got better. It is still there every morning, but it has stopped feeling like a verdict and started feeling like a problem. And problems, unlike verdicts, can be worked on. Problems have steps. Problems have timelines. Problems are survivable. Some days the gray static comes back. Not as heavy, not for as long, but real. And you have learned slowly that the return of it does not mean you are back at the beginning. It just means you are still a person, still in it, still having days that are harder than others. That is not failure. That is just what this actually looks like. The Target parking lot where this story started, you drive past it sometimes on the way to the nonprofit office, and you do not feel shame when you see it anymore. You feel something closer to recognition. The way you feel when you see a scar you have made peace with. It is part of the map now. It does not define the territory. If you are in a parking lot right now, this video is about you, not me. If you are lying on a couch at 2 p.m. and the ceiling has become more familiar than most of the people in your life, this video is about you. If you graduated and everyone around you seems to be moving, and you are standing in the exact same place you were on graduation day, trying to locate the part of you that decides to do things, this video is about you. Graduate depression does not have a clean shape. Yeah, it does not come with a dramatic moment or an obvious rock bottom or the kind of visible breakdown that would at least give you something to point to and say that is where it happened. It looks like a spreadsheet that stops getting updated. It looks like a gym bag by the door, collecting guilt every morning. It looks like saying fine so many times that you forget what the alternative sounds like. And that is exactly what makes it so easy to explain away. You are not behind. The timeline you had in your head, the one that had you employed and independent and put together by some specific age, that timeline was never real. It was a story you were told and then told yourself. And it was never an accurate description of how any of this actually works. You are in a gap nobody put on the brochure, and the gap is survivable. But you do not have to survive it alone, and you do not have to keep performing okayness for the people around you until the performance becomes the only version of you that anyone sees. I sat in that parking lot for 47 minutes. I went inside eventually. I am still going inside.